Hello and welcome to Big Bandit Gaming. Today we have Colton. Say hello. Colton.
Hello. Happy April Fool's Day.
We have Izayah.
Morning. It's 6:04 p.m.
That's a lie. We have Victoria.
Howdy doody. It's a Monday.
Very Italian today. And we have Dalton. What's up, Dalton?
Hello.
I know for a fact you're not wearing socks, and I regret it. I regret
Bet.
Pardon?
it. Oh no. Okay, for the audio listeners, there's video. You're all audio listeners, and count yourself lucky because we just saw things we can't unsee.
It sucked.
How's everyone doing today?
Good. It is not April 1st. I feel for lying.
I never said it was April 1st. Did someone say it was April 1st?
Yeah, Colton did.
Colton did.
Colton, I just took you at your word. I didn't even react.
Good day, Troy, for annoying people like myself. We love Kingdom Hearts 4, baby. Let's go.
Oh, someone's jumping the gun. He's jumping the gun. We're not talking about Kingdom Hearts 4 yet. I'm not ready. I need to build up to at least 75% through this podcast before we start talking about Kingdom Hearts 4. But for you all listening, our humble listeners, we have been on a little bit of a hiatus because I was out of the freaking country in Poland for a bit. I know, and so we had that. My girlfriend had surgery last week, so it's been a crazy 3 weeks. So I'm glad to be back with all y'alls. And Josh couldn't make it today. Something came up. He's very mysterious about it, so we're all very concerned. I can tell. Yeah, we'll miss you, Josh.
Deal with it.
We're only 4 episodes in. We can't have like a looking back episode. We'd only have 4 episodes of clips to pull out.
In memoriam.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, oh, Uncharted 3 is my favorite. And then we just end that episode. That'd be it. All right. Well, now that we have 3 weeks, I'm sure we have games that we have all been playing. Colton, what's up? What you been playing? What you been doing these 3 weeks? Nothing but playing games, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know about nothing but playing games, but pretty much only the first 3 weeks of our little hiatus we had, it was pretty much just Elden Ring. Nothing else. I was just really trying to beat the game, and I got close to the ending, and I told myself, you know what? I'm this close to the platinum. I'll go ahead and get the platinum trophy for this game. I don't have much else to do, so I opened up a guide. I had to follow, a couple of guides step by step to make sure I don't, get myself in a situation where I'd have to replay the game to do one of the storylines or whatever. But I did do that, and with the help of you, Troy, I was able to fight. Good God, the worst boss fight of my life, I think. Which goes to show you, I don't play a lot of very hard games like that, so that may not be saying a whole lot, but it was a lot for me to handle.
No, that's a brutal. Millennia's a brutal fight, in general. Not even discounting other Souls games and Neo and everything. It is just a downright brutal fight. And
I didn't really time ourselves. I was playing for about an hour before I called you in to help me, and I don't know how long we played when Hugh jumped on, but it was. I don't know. It was
an hour and a half, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And I feel like once we actually sat down and did a strategy, we did it in 2 runs.
Yeah, I guess we did. I guess
a little
that's
while for us to just
kept trying to wing it.
Yeah.
We're let's pull in a third random online guy. Let's go. Woo. And
it was fun to see the guys that we brought in just do these real crazy big magic tricks and then chop them down. We're like, well, okay.
Yep.
I'm sure no one in your household is sick of you, sick of watching that game.
Oh, no, for sure.
I'm sure that's not the case.
No, I'm sure it doesn't get old.
No.
It never gets old.
Well, so I did that, and then I kind of got back into Horizon Forbidden West, and I've probably put a couple more hours into that. And man, that was a weird jump to go from 100+ hours of Elden Ring straight to Horizon. So that was there's definitely a learning curve. I had to relearn how to play that game.
Is it more like a control thing, or does it just feel the structure of it feel weird?
It's more of a control thing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's not like I don't like the game any less now. I really had to slow down and had to relearn. I went ahead and did a side quest, and it said recommended level 7, and I think I was level 14 when I stopped. And I went, and it took me like 10 tries to do it. Like I kept hitting all the wrong buttons, and I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. But I did it. I think I'm caught up now. So that's fine. And then I guess I played a little bit of Fortnite, a couple matches here or there. And I got my first gaming PC about a week ago.
Ooh, yes.
So I've been playing. I played Sea of Thieves with Dalton here, and then one of my other buddies from work played Sea of Thieves for the first time for a couple hours. That was fun. And then I also downloaded Age of Mythology 4, and I've been playing that, and I am loving that. I loved those games growing up. Age of Mythology, Age of Empires.
Is Age of Mythology, does that play like Age of Empires? Because I've never played those.
Yes, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It just, it's very, like whenever, you know what? I think I said I'm playing Age of Mythology 4. I meant to say Age of Empires 4.
Oh, okay. I was like, huh. Okay, Age of Empires.
Totally
yes, I'm with you. I'm with you now.
Yeah, so I'm loving that.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So, Dalton, I've heard word on the street is that you got a new Lego game.
Yes.
And it's Star Wars themed, from what I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah. How's Star Wars Lego treating you?
Much better than Elden Ring.
Wait, you're telling me that a Lego game is much nicer to play than Elden Ring?
Yes, and it's Star Wars.
Nice.
And I got one of those like in-game mods you could buy, and instead of like the classic blaster sounds when you shoot a gun, it goes pew 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 pew.
Is it like DLC that changes that stuff? Like,
no, there's just like in-game mods you could buy, like a big head mod and stuff
cool,
like that.
Okay.
And one of them just changes the sounds. It's like pew pew pew, and then the lightsabers are like vroom, vroom, vroom. They're not like the actual sounds.
Does it like start you at the beginning of like the trilogies, or can you choose? Like, how's it split up?
You could start from the first of any of the three trilogies. So either chapter 1, chapter 4, or was it chapter 7?
Yeah.
But like when you load into the page, it starts you on chapter 4.
Yeah.
Kind of urging, like a little subtle urge to start the way the movies were released.
So I can't just jump straight to Clone Wars and then chuck the disc into the ocean?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to beat, like if you wanted to do Clone Wars, you'd have to beat a Phantom Menace.
What would you say is like the biggest difference between this Star Wars game and like the other ones? Because I haven't played it. I've seen it, like the perspective is different. It looks more like third person-y, but is it kind of the same deal where you're like doing little puzzles and you're building stuff, or?
It's, from what I remember, it's really different.
Okay.
At least like the level setup is.
Right.
Like there's still like you have to build like mini things,
right?
Like mini Lego sets to like build a ladder or whatever. But
is it like more open? Is it more open? Because the other ones I remember just being like super linear. Like there's like a straight path.
Yeah. There are areas that are more open. Like you could search the whole place where the clones are. Like that's all open. But once you like start that specific level, it's like real linear.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
you can always go back to the open world place and.
Oh, so it's kind of like a hub then. I mean, that's already pretty different. Because it used to be. I mean, there was like that canteen. I remember in one of them you like go to Cantina. That's where you did the level select. Yeah. But it was still pretty much a level select. So yeah, it looks really cool. Honestly, I think that is like I heard that Traveler's Tales is still going to make Lego games, but now the license is like out there. Like and now anyone can make Lego games. So I think Epic is doing something with Lego. Or Lego's doing something with Epic, more or less, and that could be
Lego
cool.
Fortnite.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Lego Fortnite, actually, that'd be cool.
I think it's really cool that if other developers get like the Lego license, you know, people could make like Lego racing games and stuff like that.
Actually, it'd be really cool to see like a Lego built character in Fortnite. Like just made out of
like a little Lego character.
Just think of the portions, though. The proportions. He'd be like a little freaky, lanky.
They've done weirder things, I think.
Do you remember Skinny Mario from Mario Maker on the Wii U? Freaky Mario. It'd be like that, but like a Lego, and no one's gonna have a good time with that.
I don't know. They did the toy soldiers. That worked.
Yeah, I forget what the character's name is. It's in GoldenEye, and it was the same thing with like Time Splitters. There's always that shorter character that has like a way smaller hitbox. I think it's Oddball. Does that sound right for GoldenEye? But that'll be the character everyone chooses because it's like half the hitbox. All right, Izayah, what have you been up to?
On the topic of Lego Star Wars, Lego Star Wars is infamous right now on the internet for having Devil May Cry combat, where you can do consistent combos and cancels. I've been playing Devil May Cry 5, and I actually beat it pretty recently. And I want to go ahead and just dive into V as a character right now. V is such a unique character. He's a Beastmaster. You don't use him to fully attack. You use his Griffith and Shadow Panther and a Crow to do the fighting for you. And although combos are very simple and pretty easy, you can max out the skills like from the first mission you get with V if you have enough red orbs for doing it.
You know what it reminded me of? Rosalina in Smash Brothers, how you can fight distance with her star. It's kind of that's what it kind of reminded me of.
And then like coming to the finishing blow as like V and like Luma, or as like Rosalina too. And that's like the fun of it too. It's like you constantly just like going between these two characters back and forth. And if like you get in a tight spot, just bring out like the big guy and like that'll just get you up 2 ranks. Now you're smoking sexy style, and it's like so satisfying and so much fun. Me. Oh yeah.
Devil May Cry 5 it was a really awesome game. And
it's actually the first game for me that I actually did all the collectibles and secret missions for.
Oh wow, yeah. See, I didn't get that far. I mean that is the type of game it is. If you really want to, you can just do a one playthrough, and it's like a really good, just like well-paced thing. But if you want to go back and, like you said, at triple S tier, get all the items and stuff, that's all there, which is cool. Do you know if there's anything they added that wasn't in the standard edition, or like special edition?
First off, let's get our big boy out of the way. Virgil, the younger brother and the least favorite brother, but the most favorite to the fandom. He has his own gameplay mechanic for the special edition. By the way, for PS4 players, you can play as Virgil as DLC. But his whole thing is like, you, of course, don't want to get hit, same as other characters, but actually ruins your focus for Virgil. I haven't got to play him as much at all, but I'm excited to replay Devil May Cry 5 later on and try out Virgil for myself.
If you have focus, is that just like added damage? Does it do different moves? Like,
I think it does like more moves, if not more damage with the moves.
Cool. And
whatnot. And that also means you do flash your stuff too with him, which is very exciting for me. So Devil May Cry 5, fantastic game.
Still
play all the games.
Still, my favorite thing with Devil May Cry 5 was those live action videos of them doing the cutscene.
I actually need to replay it for that too.
Those are incredible.
So good. And like in the credits, you can see like, oh yeah, the movie director and whatnot. And I'm like, that's so good.
And so you told me you've completed a couple other games.
Yeah. So I went from 1 to 3 to 4. 3 out of those 3 were my favorite. One was, you probably already noticed, Troy, it was originally a Resident Evil game, but then for some reason they dialed back and were like, let's do a whole new IP for this one. And it still may cry. And you can definitely tell like the Resident Evil, like that sort of elements are still there with backtracking, puzzle solving, yada yada, and like kind of a clunky little like playing wise, but it's still a solid game. Do you know the scene with Trish? He's like carrying her in like that big hallway. He's Yeah, I don't know I forgot what he said. Do you remember what he said?
No, I don't remember. It's been a while in those games. But speaking of games you've beaten, you have a couple on the list right there.
Yeah, so DMC5 was one. Great game. Let's go into Monster Hunter World. I was talked about last time how much fun it was, but also how I've been into that game. And I not only beat the game itself, me and Devin went all out and we did the Arc-Tempered Elder Dragons. If you don't know what that means, it's essentially the hardest bosses in the game amplified. So you have tempered dragons and tempered monsters, then you have the Arc-Tempered. Not only do they get bust, it gets like a boost in like attack, but then you get the boost in health. That doesn't seem like a problem at first because you think you're confident, you think you're pretty good until you actually get into it. And so me and Devin had to drain a lot of my items just for this fight, just for these fights, bro.
It's like the Millennia fight for Monster Hunter.
It really is. They were meant to be like tougher than tough. You have to be a pro. Even the pros struggle. But because of that, it makes it such a beautiful victory. By the time I beat the final boss's Arc-Tempered form, I felt deserving of that victory. And we're only like one monster away from beating the game full on. And cool. Right now, although I'm taking a little break from Monster Hunter World, I'm coming back later with Devin to play the Iceborne DLC because I can't get enough of that game. And I can't wait to get to GU and Rise. It's going to be awesome. Next, we have the phenomenal indie game, Cuphead. Such a immaculate like design, sound wise, visuals, and like playing wise of the game. It has a combination of run and guns, bullet hells, and which is like the plane levels, and of course your usual shoot 'em up, hit 'em and dodge all the bullets you can. It's so good. Variety of music and bosses and design. It never gets old, and it's just so charming. I can gush about such a phenomenal game these guys have done. I'm excited for the DLC to come out soon. So I have that on my list of my what's it called? The Colton Green's
fantasy list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna do well for you. I'm with you. I'm very much looking forward to that.
And one little thing before we move on from this game is that I have the ego, this sort of gamer ego, where I'm like, I can beat this game.
You got to get that looked at.
I have this thing where I'm like, I can do this with no hits. I got this. All parries, everything. I can do it in 2 minutes. And to be honest, I did get most of the bosses A-. But oftentimes I wouldn't be dying, I'd be restarting. And my friend John would sometimes play with me, and he'd be like, Izayah, come back. I'm like, no, we're restarting. We gotta go again. Because I'm just so like in that focus where I'm like, I can do it hitless. I can.
Were you doing it co-op?
Yeah, I actually played a majority of it through by myself up until the dragon fight. Then I was like sad. I was like playing with nobody. I'm like, oh, who wants to play with me? And John was like, I want to play. I'm like, great. So we just Steam remote played it all the way through. And then like at the final part of the big game, I was just like, yeah, I'll beat it. And I beat it by myself. And it was awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Last game on the list is Sonic Adventure 2. I ended off like with finishing the hero story before going to dark story. Let me just say the story itself is just so good. I'm actually impressed with how well this game is aged and like level design wise and in like story. I feel like it's like really gone a huge leap from like Sonic Adventure 1, especially since like this game only I think took 12 people to make after the 1/3. Yeah. After 1/3 of the employees were laid off by Sega, Sonic Adventure 2 stands the test of time for me, being just a fun game, like a fun adventure with Sonic into the cast, and like
I wonder.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, I wonder if one of the people they that got laid off was our audio engineer, because that game does a hilarious thing. I love it. Everything is mixed so poorly, and sometimes the characters will talk over each other in a way where they seem like they're being super rude, and it's unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah, I often have to turn down the
Sonic and Shadow levels age well. I do not think. I think some of those Knuckles levels and Rouge levels are and the Tails and the levels are.
I realize I modded it. I forgot that I have all 3 of the jewels like showed up on my tracker. Without being modded, it's only one at a time. Okay, so yes, that is true. And of course, I did mess with the physics for Tails and Eggman's levels. Okay, that way I have a smooth.
There you
level.
Go. Yeah. And you probably had a different experience than I've had with Sonic Adventure 2, which is not fully positive. But that sounds cool, huh? I'll check that out. All right. Well, I will say the main thing I've been out of the state for a bit, so I've been playing a lot of stuff mobilely. So my main game I've been playing was Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and it's really good. Kirby Forgotten Land is very good. So it's Kirby's first like full 3D outing like ever. Like he had an N64 game, but for whatever reason it was still 2D. And there, the 3DS games, there's a few really good 3DS games like Planet Robobot and stuff like that more recently, but I feel like Kirby's like one like Nintendo character where they haven't done the full big like 3D thing for them. Mario's had it, Zelda's had it, like Donkey Kong had one 3D game. I wouldn't call it the best, but they've all gotten that opportunity. So now that we're in the Switch, we're on video right now. I said something about Donkey Kong 64 and all of a sudden Dalton appears. But yeah, it starts you out. It's kind of like a post-apocalypse, which most Kirby games have that aesthetic going, but it's really cool. So the structure of it is that it's kind of like an overworld, kind of the same way like Super Mario 3D World is, but you have like a home base. So in the levels you collect these Waddle Dees. They're all captured. And you can do certain things in the level. They're like tiny mini missions. So it's like, hey, you found the secret path, or you hammered these pegs in this level with the hammer ability, and it gives you more Waddle Dees. And the more of them you collect after you beat the level, they go to the city. And it's kind of like, do you remember Assassin's Creed 2, where you would go back and like have that town that you would slowly build up?
Yes.
It's kind of like a hub. It's kind of like that. It's just a hub where the more Waddle Dees you collect, the more buildings will be built in that town. So there's like a building to like rewatch cutscenes. There's like a few to do mini games. There's like a fishing mini game. There's like a Coliseum where you fight Meta Knight at the end, and you actually get like a Meta Knight ability for your swords.
That's so sick.
So what I really like about it is that it's variety. There's just so much variety to it. Like each level has like its own theme. You're using your own power. You get mouthful mode, which is the big thing in this game, where Kirby can turn into a car or like a soda machine or a boat or like anything. And or it's Mario. Not just. Yeah, I wish.
Refrigerator
eats Mario. But it's not like you use those mouthful modes for just like one thing either. It's not like there's this one where you swallow a ring and he shoots like puffs of air. And in some levels, you're just using that to like shoot these big old like things of air at enemies, or you're destroying walls with them. But if you get in a boat with that, it turns into this like motorboat thing. So each ability has like a ton of different mouthful modes have like a lot of range, and you have so many abilities. Each ability can be upgraded by finding scrolls within the levels, and all of those can be upgraded like 3 different times, which give you like a ton of different things. So I feel like almost every other level I'm getting like a new ability or a new scroll or unlocking, more stuff in the town, and it just feels really good. It controls really great. The variety, the bosses are actually kind of epic, like in a way you don't expect. I'm excited. So I'm on the very last world, and I've heard the last boss is like super anime and cool. So I am very much looking forward to seeing what that is, because a lot of the bosses have like really cool intros, and just that game's just really good.
Does the game have local multiplayer?
It does, yeah. So you don't play as two Kirbys. You play as Bandana Waddle Dee, and so he gets a spear. So you don't have the same like ability swapping Kirby does, but he has a spear, and he has his own health and everything, and it's it's better than most of Nintendo's multiplayer stuff. Like you're not just playing Mario's hat like in Odyssey, or you're like another star in like Galaxy 2 where you're just like swinging the pointer around. It doesn't feel like it's not like it's fully functioning as like playing as Waddle Dee isn't as interesting as playing as Kirby, but it's not like baby mode like most of those are. So it finds like a good in between point, and that's really cool. So yeah, Kirby is great. It might be like a little bit on the short side. I'm probably around like 9 hours in. But as far as like that town I was talking about earlier, what I also like is that you just, as long as you're playing and you're collecting, most of the Waddle Dees you see along the way, not even most of them, you're gonna like unlock everything. So it's not gonna make you grind. Because like more recently, Ni no Kuni 2 had the same thing, but it was like a grind fest. To do everything, you had to, like, I was leaving the system on and it yelled at me for doing it. It's like, if we detect that you haven't moved an amount, we'll stop. I'm like, why? Why would you do this to me? You obviously, if you program that in, people are going to try to do that. But it seems like they really took that into account. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a really great game, because I just wasn't sure if it was going to be just like Nintendo's B tier kind of platformer behind like Mario, and it's not as grandiose as Mario Odyssey, but at the same time it's kind of doing its own thing, and the variety is really cool. So yeah, that's Kirby. It's nice to be playing my Switch again, by the way. It's been a while since I had like a meaty thing on my Switch. So I'll just go through the next two really quickly. Norco came out on Game Pass. It's a new release on PC Game Pass. So it's a post-apocalyptic game that takes place in the South, and there's this big like oil company that has taken over this town like over the years, and you're playing as these characters that are all affected by like this mega corporation, and it's kind of heavy and dark, and the visual style is really cool. It's kind of takes cyberpunk, but it kind of gives it its own spin. It's not like that Blade Runner super 80s thing that most cyberpunk stuff does. It's a little more subdued, and it's kind of a little darker because of it, because it's not just like the inside of like a PC. It's not just LEDs everywhere and everything. But I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but what I have played of it, I'm really enjoying. So it seems like they're setting up like a lot of mystery behind what this corporation is up to, what these characters are up to. There's these wars that they haven't fully explained. So I'm
looking
really
at footage of it now. It looks really cool.
Yeah, me too. Like the visuals look great, and like the reviews are like really good.
Yeah, it's gotten like a 91 on like Open Critic and stuff. So that's what drew me to it in the first place too. I was just like, whoa, that got really good reviews. I had seen a trailer a while back, but the writing's all really sharp, and most of it is kind of most of it's narrative, but there are kind of light puzzle solving like stuff. But just like from what I played, I've only played like 4 hours, but it seems like every 30 minutes something just super bizarre happens, like just incredibly bizarre. So I'm looking forward to seeing kind of where that game goes. And last is Fantasian, which is it's an Apple Arcade game by the creator of Final Fantasy. So that's Hironobu Sakaguchi, and the guy who did the music is Uematsu. So those are the guys behind Final Fantasy like 1 through 10. After that, that's kind of when they split off and made their own company, Mistwalker. But they made an iPhone game exclusive for Apple. Like they teamed up with Apple, and what's really unique about it is for all the environments they built models, like these model sets, and took like photogrammetry of all them and imported them to the game. So all the environments, have you ever seen like model trees? How they kind of look like little broccolis? You know, they have like kind of like texture and stuff. If you get close enough to them in the game, they all look like that. Like it looks like you're walking through like,
oh, cool,
like one of those cool like models that people build for like train sets and stuff. But that's all the environments in the game. So the characters are all 3D and like, you know, there's a good amount 3D, but all the environments. And so like there's a level where there's like a ship and you can tell it's like a physical looking, like cool steampunk ship. And they just took a bunch of pictures of it and put it in the game. But I mean, that is the coolest thing about it. The music is great just because that guy has been composing great music for forever.
Uematsu the GOAT, yeah.
Yeah, Uematsu's really, really good. But what I will say is that structurally, it's kind of not my favorite. It seems to just not give you much time to breathe. I think because it's a mobile game, they don't want you to like flesh out the story too much. It seems like you pick it up, you get a little cutscene, and you get into like more battles. And so it just seems like weirdly paced in a way that you wouldn't expect if you played like other Final Fantasies, which makes sense. Like you don't want to open up your phone and, you know, like spend 3 of that time just reading through dialogue and going through a town. But that's kind of what I look for in a JRPG, is kind of like a slow paced, you know, thing in a dungeon here and there. But it seems to be a little more sped up and a little more combat focused, which is it's a little disappointing, but it's cool. I probably will finish it here at some point, but the writing seems okay. The characters are a little like, you know, right away the main character has like amnesia and wakes up, which is just every RPG, especially every JRPG. So right away I was just like, okay, we're doing this. So it's nothing groundbreaking besides maybe its visuals and some like really nice music, but they're releasing it in parts. So I'm not through to part 2 yet, but I've heard it picks up. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, that's all I have been playing. Victoria, you've been sitting there. Have you been playing anything?
I have not.
What have you been doing?
What a nerd.
Well, I am a college student, so I take my classes, I go to work, and in my free time, I read.
Very nice.
Fiction.
What have you been reading? What's out of what you've been reading recently, what would be like your go-to?
You know what? I have been reading a lot of fantasy, a lot of YA fantasy. So
yeah,
they're all they all kind of like follow like a similar theme.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is purposeful because I enjoy certain tropes that
for those not watching, her dog just like showed up in frame.
It's our boy Bucky.
Bucky wants to be in the podcast.
Yeah. Right.
Are they all like a lot of like coming of age, like kind of stories?
I mean, more, yeah, it's kind of like, it's usually about a heroine who comes into like powers and,
yes,
you know, and suddenly she has to save the world.
How it is.
Reading 2 series that actually have like that similar plot. I'm reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I'm on the 3rd book, Ruin and Rising. It's pretty good so far. And I'm also reading through the Throne of Glass series. I think I'm on the 4th book of that series. And I really enjoy that one. That one's super good. That is by the great Sarah J. Maas. A lot of she's known for like fairy porn, and like when people hear her name as an author, they're like, "Oh, the fairy porn author."
You're like, no, not this one, but yes, but no.
I actually really, really like her work, and I imagine that I'll like her other series as well. As like 3 right now, the Throne of Glass series, the A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then Crescent City, and they're all supposed to be like awesome fantasy.
Yeah. I recognize a couple of those. You know what's really hard is I've been mostly doing audiobooks, And it's really hard when you're not looking at the cover and like seeing the author's name every time you open the cover. Yeah. It's just like I never know who's right. I hear a name, I'm like, that sounds familiar.
Books that I have not read in that kind of, sorry, that was my phone. Books that I have not read that I have read that are different are like the first book that I read this year was The Rise of Skywalker novelization, and I really enjoyed that. When it comes to the sequel trilogy novelizations, it's definitely my favorite of the three. And just because it explains a lot, it goes into depth more of like the lore between like the force connections between Rey and Kylo Ben. And I really enjoyed that. Because without the book, you would never know that they were identified as a dyad in the Force, and that's canon, and I love that.
Do you feel like you have like a better appreciation for that trilogy after reading some of those books? I
think I have a better appreciation of how it ended. I really felt I had some feelings about the way it ended when I watched the movies. In reading it, I got to kind of visit the story again. I was like, it's not so bad. Ideally I might have had it a different way, but I actually really enjoyed the story of it.
You sent Lucasfilms your fanfic and they've not written back.
And it's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, rude.
And then I read the Song of Achilles, and I sobbed when I read that. Like I was reading it and it was like
she did. I walked in the room at one point and she looked up at me from the book and she had tears going down her face.
I was actually like silently weeping while I read that book.
You can't open this book anymore because all the pages are stuck together.
Yeah. They're all like molded over and wet. So wet.
Say no more.
So man, that book is so good. That book like was really hyped up for me, and once I like heard about how good it was, I decided I wasn't gonna look into what the plot was, anything. I just knew it was
going blind.
Yeah, and then in doing so, I really fell into like the world of it and the characters, and it like messed me up. I was like literally crying. I'm so I mean, I cry a lot when I read, but like I've never cried as much.
You're like, I need glasses, okay?
Yeah. The worst book I read was Tear Me Apart. That was not a good book, but I almost did. I almost did not finish it. I don't want to talk about Harry Potter. I almost didn't finish it, but I did, and then I don't know.
Got halfway through, realized it was
a big book too.
Realized it was a cooking book, and you're like, "Oh, that makes so much sense."
There's no plot here.
They keep jumping all over the place.
I need 3 eggs.
I thought it would be cool because it sounded cool. Like, it was about this girl who she was like an athlete, and then she breaks her leg. And she has to go to the hospital, to get surgery on it. And then they find out that she has a super rare bone cancer. And so they're like, all right, well, let's get like, I guess like stem cell donations, like from the family.
Yeah.
And then they do all the blood tests.
Seems like a good time.
None of them are her family.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Oh.
And then, so it's like a lot of mystery. And then it's like, oh, crime. Oh, murder. It's so like this lady pretty much like, spoiler alert, this lady like murdered her friend that she was like in a psych ward with. And she took her baby. And
wild.
That was pretty much it.
So
and I know it sounds
spoilers,
actually pretty...
spoilers for the future Netflix short series.
Really,
or maybe not anymore.
It sounds like it like saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. But then you read it but you figure out the plot good halfway through.
And it just keeps going.
Then you're like, okay, so I know everything in this book now. So reading the second half was just confirming what I already knew.
Yep.
And that kind of sucked, you know?
Yeah. Yep. No, pacing that out is super important.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to rewrite that story, just do it better.
If anyone wants to do a plagiarism, but do a better plagiarism.
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
It's been like about 70 years. It'll be fine. But,
yeah, wait for it to go into public domain and then just rewrite it. Yeah, finally. I'm now 88.
I think the rule is as long as you change like 7 things about like the main plot, it can't technically in a court of law qualify.
Yeah, so she doesn't have cancer. There is no mystery. This is just going to be a boring.
The truth theory isn't real.
I don't know like how major the changes have to be. I'm sure they have to be significant enough.
Yeah. So
well, this is super off top, but like by the old like public domain laws, like Mickey Mouse and Superman or something should be under public domain, but that's not going to happen. So I don't know.
They can re-up their copyrights and everything too.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have the money for it.
Why did the Sherlock Holmes guy fall asleep? Did he die? Didn't get his copyright renewed? But yeah.
Yeah,
well,
so
cool.
I think I'll stick with the fairy porn. They seem to like it, and
yeah. No, we'll talk about Kingdom Hearts 4 later. So you just
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been up to. Unfortunately, no time for video games. Maybe this summer.
There'll be something that comes along.
I have games. I'm supposed to play the Guardians game.
Oh, did you buy it? You got it?
I have it. Izayah got it for me because I really wanted to play it.
It's good.
Just haven't.
Yeah. Rocket Raccoon, you can throw that sucker.
It actually sounds really nice.
Yeah, it's actually a really good story. I think that was one of the games that keeps coming up as like something that surprised everyone just because it showed so bad. Like I wasn't even interested in it. I was like, that looks bad. And after Avengers and everything, but I'm glad that I played it. What I wasn't glad of is I paid $60 for it, and then less than like a week and a half later, they're like, "Oh, by the way, $25." I'm like, well,
yeah, it dropped.
Supporting the developers, I guess. Hello. But yeah, when you get around to that, I think you'll really like that one.
Yeah, me too.
All right, well, let's move on to the news. All right, we are back. And for our next segment, we're just going to go over some news because it has been a few months since this podcast has launched. But I feel like in the last 3 weeks, more news has gone down than maybe the entirety of us doing this. So I thought it'd be cool just to do a news segment for us to come back in. And then next week, we'll probably do something a little more focused. But following our first item, I thought it'd be cool to follow up our last podcast, since literally when we talked about the new PlayStation Plus Spartacus, less than 12 hours later, they announced it. So I'd say good timing on our part. We did good on that one.
We got in there. Right.
Yeah, I made sure to like get right when we're done with that podcast. I pretty much started editing right away and was like, okay, it's out. And then overnight it launched. I was like, oh, thank you. Good. Yes. But I have let me pull up the document up here. So when we were talking about it, I think we were all pretty much in agreement that it was going to be a tiered. I mean, that was the rumor that it was going to be tiered.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was we didn't know how they were going to split it up, and we didn't know their pricing. And I'll just say I pretty much nailed it. Nailed it.
On the pricing for sure.
On the pricing for sure. Yeah, I won't take. Obviously the tiered rumor. It was rumored to be tiered, and then Jeff Grubb pretty much was saying a while back exactly how the tier was going to be split up. And so that we kind of pretty much knew beforehand, but the pricing, yeah. So It's for the price, the base, it ended up being the base PlayStation Plus is about $18 a month. With the Game Pass, so with the PS4, PS5, like the free games for just those two generations, it's $50 quarterly. And then for the pricing on the this might actually be I'm just reading the pricing for the main one. So it's $10 a month for just regular. It's $15 for like the Game Pass equivalent for just like the free PS4 or PS5 games. And then the legacy tier is about $18 a month or $120 yearly, which $120 is what I said was going to be the max.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, they thought the same thing apparently, because that's where it's at. What we didn't say, what I noticed we didn't talk about was them like including PSP games, which is cool.
No, I think we did, because like
I think we
Josh was saying. Josh
maybe
was
at the end there.
Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think towards the end. I don't remember who, but someone was like, "Oh, it'd be really cool if they added like PSP into that, that legacy stuff too."
And Josh called it. It was really cool to see that. But it's got me curious. Why just PSP and not the Vita?
Well, it's because not enough Vita games work without the touchscreen. So even with the PS TV, there was like a whitelist where like you couldn't play Golden Abyss on the PS TV because it had you had to touch the back, you had to rub the back.
When you limit your TV, I got personal going with that.
You could still play like Persona, but you can play Gravity Rush and Uncharted. So there's just too much.
Yeah,
if they can't like make everything work, they're not going to take the time to like do that. So that one makes it sucks, but it does make sense. Biggest disappointment for me was exactly what we talked about too, was just PS3 being available for cloud streaming. And not just that it's being streamed, it's also being streamed through PS Now, which is only like 720p and does not work all that well. So there are rumors that they are working on like a native emulator, but that was the one generation I really wanted them to like nail and get like an actual emulator and really help those games run and look better. So I think it's cool that we're going to get, the like PS1, 2 and PSP games. I think that in itself will still be worth it for me. But the PS3 offering is a little disappointing to me. Not unexpected, honestly. Like I said in the last episode, that I would have been really surprised if they got everything right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to see the PS2 library being out as a library. The PS2 games.
And we still don't know what the game list is. I mean, you guys all freaked out when I said that I thought they needed to launch with at least 100 games. And it's
I think that sounded right.
Or
think even low.
Yeah. Well, it definitely was low comparatively. Yeah. Because if you look, not including like you have the Game Pass stuff, which is, it says right here, adds a catalog up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games. And for Legacy, it says it adds up to another 340 additional games. So that is a lot. Like there is a lot there. So, like I said, I'm not actually super disappointed with what they're offering. I just wish the PS3 was natively emulated. That's all. But I think it's going to be, it'll definitely help them stand, just look a little bit more favorably with like Game Pass, on there. I mean, I don't know how much it'll help them when like Elder Scrolls is coming out, like completely stuff like that, they still got to find a way, in my opinion, they still got to find a way to kind of compete in that area. But as long as they keep making their really good first party stuff, people are, I'll still spend the $70 to get them, if I'm interested. So, yeah. So that's just a follow up on PlayStation Plus. And so our next item is Breath of the Wild 2 delayed till 2023.
Makes sense.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, I think it was going to go either way. We weren't sure. I wasn't hyping myself up for it, What I will say, though, is that really puts a question mark. So it kind of goes into another thing we're going to talk about later, which is Xenoblade 3 getting dated for July, like in just like a couple of months. But that really leaves open to we're not sure what Nintendo has planned for later in this year. If Breath of the Wild isn't there and Xenoblade is coming earlier, I can't think of like anything else.
They don't really have anything else.
Yeah, which is both. Yeah, nothing announced for the holidays, which honestly is a little exciting because it means that whenever they do their E3 presentation, it means they have to have something like larger up their sleeves, you know?
I mean, unless you want to call Pokemon their big thing this year, because they do have those two games in November.
I mean, Pokemon is always big, so that's a good. That's a good point. But nothing coming from like Nintendo proper.
Yeah.
Can you guys think of anything it's going to be? I mean, I imagine it's a while since Mario Odyssey has came out. Like, it could be very likely that team's wrapping up something, you know?
Yeah, I honestly, I can't, like, for Nintendo wise, like just Nintendo. Yeah. I think not for specifically the holidays, but I do know I could probably expect like a possible Metroid Prime trilogy to haul us over to Metroid Prime 4, or maybe even just like a Wind Waker HD port. That'd be lovely, or Twilight Princess even. Like, I think I'm around like the leaker space a lot, and I like seeing that kind of stuff. So like, a lot of people are saying like, this could actually happen like for this year, because when Nintendo's approaching their marketing strategies is that they're saving some projects for when they need it to hold like our attention over, which is working. Skyward Sword is a good example. It worked, and it's good for the profit as well, but it's also good for us as consumers because we love those games. We love replaying those games. We love going back to those games. Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, all I say, like, those are gems, and Nintendo does that.
Yeah, you have a really good point. They still, I mean, that is the rumor that Wind Waker are going to be bundled together. And the trilogy, Metroid Prime trilogy, what has actually been rumored is that it's going to be a remake of Metroid Prime 1, like a Metroid Prime remake.
Be sick, that'd be sick.
Yeah, I mean, even if they just release those two games, I mean, that could be enough with Pokemon to keep people happy. I mean, for me personally, I would want just like one surprise thing. And Nintendo's done that. Like, when they announced Paper Mario, they were like, that's coming out in 2 months. And Kirby was like less than 6 months, from the time it was announced to when it's released. So they've been doing that a lot lately. So I'm pretty much expecting that to happen. I mean, within the next few months, though, I mean, we've had Kirby. We're going to get Super Mario Strikers. At the end of this month, we're going to get Switch Sports, which I pre-ordered. I'm very excited. We are all going to be in the same room together very soon, and if you guys don't have Switch Sports already, I have it in hand. It's going to be good. But yeah, I'm just really curious. I think it's exciting when this happens because I know there's a big hole there, and it could be something pretty exciting that they used to fill with it. So I'm not torn up about Breath of the Wild. I think they should take their time and just, when that game releases, we'll all play it. Like, no rush on my part.
Yeah. I
almost want it to be delayed longer because I would love to have like a Switch 2 with that game, on a like a nice big 4K screen running really nicely. That would be nice. That'd be like I think you hope too much. I know. I don't think, honestly, from everything I've heard, I don't think the Switch 2 is going to be released till like end of 2023, 2024, early, something like that. So we'll see. If there's still rumors and it's close enough, I might wait it out and see if I can play Breath of the Wild 2 on like a more powerful system, but probably not. I'll probably get really bad FOMO. Just end up playing it anyways.
Is that to make up for you playing Breath of the Wild on the
Wii U? Yeah, I remember watching that happen. That was weird.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I sometimes I forget that I played Breath of the Wild, not a Switch. And it's funny, I'll tell people that, and most people don't, like, they didn't even realize it came out on Wii U. They're like, that was on Wii U? I was like, yeah.
That was like the last game.
That was their last game, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
It was far too little too late, but it was Wii U's last game, so, that is a feather in that console's butt. Yeah, I mean, I think that'll be another Elden Ring moment for, like, the gaming community. It will be one of those games where we could have a podcast with pretty much a good amount of us playing it, So when it comes out, I'll probably just play it on my Switch,
You sure you don't want to get it on your Wii U?
Yeah, I demand. I was here day one. Day one. You've abandoned me. You've abandoned your child. All right. So next up we have following. You know what? I'm gonna swap these two on our list. I mentioned it earlier, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 dated for July 29th, which is way sooner than I expected, because that game was just announced like a month ago. Less than a month ago. Now it's coming out in like, what, 3 months? Which is crazy, because that's like those are big games. I don't know how they're pumping out. It kind of makes me nervous that they're pumping out another Xenoblade so soon after that remaster. I mean, it is a remaster, so there's not as much stuff to do. It's been a while since 2, but I have high hopes for it. It looks a little more reform for me, because I was not a fan of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I love.
2 was rough.
Yeah, and I love the first, and then Xenoblade Chronicles X on Wii U. So I was a fan of that. So I'm hoping. It looks like the environments are kind of going back to Xenoblade Chronicles X, and they kind of toned down the characters from 2. So it's not like I'm saying, there's not like just a bunch of anime boob ladies, which is probably a con for some. But for me, I'm just yes, please, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
I don't want to turn off my screen when someone walks by my screen, being like, "What? You didn't see anything." So yeah, I'm excited for that. Hoping it's good, coming out real soon. So this one's for you, Izayah. Kingdom Hearts 4 announced out of not okay. It would have been announced out of nowhere if it wasn't on that leak, that NVIDIA leak. But that was like the one game in that leak that I was like, no way, that's not a real thing.
It was in the back of my head with the NVIDIA leak, but at the same time, I'm like, it's the 20th anniversary. Nomura has already planned out the next phase for Kingdom Hearts, and it's like, you know what? You might as well make the 4th one now. I don't need to wait 10 years without you now.
That man will make Versus 13, whether it kills him or not.
Yes, I know. I see it. It's crazy how they're all the parallels are all there.
Yeah. So for backstory, Tetsuya Nomura, the guy behind Kingdom Hearts, worked on Final Fantasy Versus 13, which got turned into Final Fantasy 15. It was like a 10-year development, and he got kicked out. He got kicked off when it turned into 15.
Right, and that's he's
been real salty because the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, they redid the cinematic trailer of Versus 13 in Kingdom Hearts. So it's just a wild thing. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4 came out. There's a trailer. If you don't remember, Izayah, when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, they put out that Unreal Engine trailer, and that wasn't real gameplay. And this is either. There's no one controlling a character in this. It is kind of like proof of concept.
No, it's confirmed. It is confirmed that this recent trailer was actual gameplay.
That was actual gameplay?
That was actual gameplay, and
an engine maybe, but I don't know.
No, not an engine. That's an Engine 3. What's the newest engine right now?
Not Unreal Engine. They're Unreal Engine 5. But I was saying it's in engine. I don't know if anyone was actually playing that.
But I know it's the trailer is not showing off what it's going to look like in then there was a newest engine. I do know that.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out about Solis feet because they look like real feet.
Look normal.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a more. It's like an urban environment. So he's not like an actual Tokyo. It's like a fake Tokyo that this is going to sound crazy. It's a fake Tokyo that they set up in the Toy Story world of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes, Rex.
Yes, in which Rex in Toy Story, you remember in Toy Story 2 how he was playing that video game at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that, but he's playing a Final Fantasy. And now Sora's been put into that video game Rex was playing in the Toy Story world, and that is the new direction. It's insane. It's wild, but I am skeptical, like anyone should be, when it comes to Kingdom Hearts.
Or Nomura.
I mean, I admit there's signs of hope. Final Fantasy VII Remake, which he had a big hand in, He did co-direct it, which is why I think that came out as well as it did. Like they just put out Final Fantasy Origins, and that seems like a hilarious mess. Fedoras, that's all I know about Final Fantasy Origins. You can wear fedoras, and that's cool. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts. It's just been at a weird direction for a while. I mean, either you were like an old school Kingdom Hearts fan and they've kind of lost you, which is kind of me. Like I will play those games and be like, wow, they did it, I guess. Or it seems like Izayah, like I would say a lot of the newer Kingdom Hearts fans are your age, and there's a pretty big gap. You know, they probably, how old were you in 2001? Like when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out?
I wasn't alive.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, like there's just like a new wave of Kingdom Hearts fans that, you know, and they don't seem to mind the insane direction the story goes, that it doesn't play all that interestingly or well.
Yeah.
But they're there. So, you know, if they make a game for them and it's not for me, it's fine. There hasn't really been a Kingdom Hearts for me since the first one. And the first one's very different from even 2 onward. But I mean, hey, I could be surprised. I could come back. I wasn't expecting Final Fantasy VII Remake to be as good as it was. So,
well, I think with this, okay, let's actually kind of backtrack a little bit. We do know from Remind DLC, both people who didn't like 3 that much and people who did love it agreed. Remind was amazing, and we're all kind of thinking like Nomura's kind of learning from like what the fandom is saying, the communities and whatnot. And an example is that if you notice how in the trailer you get a little button prompt from like it has a label, but you do get a button prompt in the trailer. That's a reaction command. Is confirmed, I think, in the Famitsu column.
What time events are back? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Reaction commands and Kingdom Hearts are pretty cool, though. You gotta give them credit for that.
They're kind of anime. They're cool. They are cool.
Another cool thing to note is what we got confirmed was that Quadratum, while modeled after Tokyo, is its own thing. The reason why Sora looks like that, looks so Final Fantasy modern, is because of the environment he's in. So given we get future games with like Sora, he's going to probably go back to his typical style. I think for this game, it's just unique.
Yeah. I wonder how they're going to integrate the Disney stuff. People have already taken down the trailer.
Star Wars.
They thought they saw like a little Star Wars something. They could take it
ATSC.
like Marvel, Star Wars. They could do Pixar stuff, like The Incredibles.
The foot. If you look at a side-by-side comparison, look at the ATSC or the AT-AT like foot. Look at it, dude. It is like there, and like. And I feel like,
I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3. That was the least interesting thing. Is I feel like they got worlds like Frozen and stuff, but they weren't able to do much with it. They were kind of hamstrung and had to just follow like, hi, we're just showing the Frozen story, but not very well, and just for some reason, Anime Boy and
Baymax's story was good. I think I like that world.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 is just a weird game. It's just
it's really
inconsistent. It's inconsistent. There are things I like. There were like moments I like in it, but overall it was just a weird game. But that is coming out. We probably won't see that game for another 10 years. So look forward to that, I guess. As for some more Disney properties, Amy Hennig, the director of Uncharted 1 through 3, is heading up a new Star Wars game, a new AAA Star Wars game.
Let's see if this one gets canceled.
Exactly. Yeah, because her old game was Project Ragtag with Visceral, and EA killed that game and killed the studio at the same time. Right when EA was like, oh, you know, no one cares about single player games. Those don't make money. So we're just going to cut off this studio and what they're doing. And apparently right after that happened, she started a studio with Skydance. And Skydance is like a production company. They've done, I was just looking this up yesterday, what Skydance has done, but they're mostly just doing movies. So they haven't done much in the game space, but they opened up a game studio with Amy Hennig involved, and they're working on this new Star Wars game and a Marvel game. So they're doing a superhero game and a Star Wars game. So I'm thinking, what Disney wants is they want, what Jedi Fallen Order was. They want those big single player, like narrative driven games that like Sony kind of does, and what Respawn shows can work and actually sell. And I think, like you said, Colton, hopefully this one goes through and it works and isn't like being forced to be like a games that's like a service game,
Yeah.
She can just do her Uncharted thing, because I think that'd be really cool. So there's not much we know about it yet. There's no details on it. We just know that, hey, it's a Star Wars game. She's heading it up, and she's also going to be heading up a Marvel game. So, I think it's cool. The more like different studios that get their hands on Star Wars, because for me, that was always the thing that interested me the most in Star Wars was the games, because they were always so like diverse. You never knew what you were getting, especially around like the PS1 era. There were like a ton of different Star Wars games. And so I always enjoyed those.
I remember they made an actual like the game, like the chess game in Star Wars. They made that into a game too.
yeah. Like they had the Starfighter series. They had Jedi Battles on PS1. They had a bunch of PC stuff with was that Commando? Yeah. Like a first person shooter. But yeah, like right now, I think like Ubisoft is making a Star Wars game. You have Amy Hennig heading it up. Respawn's doing a sequel to Fallen Order, and we also have what's the Heavy Rain? What's the studio called, Izayah? I'm blanking.
I
know you're talking about
Quantic Dream,
yeah.
And some weird rumors has been going on with the Quantic Dream one, that it's kind of like at a standstill, and that studio has been in a weird place for a while just because of allegations and everything. So out of all of them, that's the one I'm not holding my breath over, the Quantic Dream one. Even though that cinematic trailer they made looks cool, but that's kind of all it is at the moment. But it's exciting that we have so many like AAA studios with their hands on Star Wars, because they're all going to have like a pretty different take, I'm guessing, like when I hear like Ubisoft is making a massive Star Wars game, Ubisoft has a house style that you expect, and Respawn shows, they can do narrative stuff, and Amy Hennig, maybe hers, like Respawn's was kind of open. It was kind of like Dark Souls light, where you could explore and bonfires and stuff. I could see Amy Hennig's, if, they're going by her last trilogy, which is Uncharted, they could just make a really tight, really high budget, really well written Star Wars game. I think that could be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
Yeah. Especially after, I thought the same thing after I played Guardians of the Galaxy, because I was thinking that's kind of what Ragtag sounded like. It sounded like, like Guardians of the Galaxies, but Star Wars, just like, it's in the name, Ragtag. So yeah, I'm glad to see she's getting a second crack at it, because that was really disappointing when they announced that it got shut down. All right. Next, E3 is canceled, everyone. Pack it up. Summer ruined. This is kind of, to me, it's kind of non-news, because E3 has been kind of on a downward trend for a while now. And Jeff Keighley has been doing his thing for a few years. I think he did something around E3, and I have a feeling, I don't know how it's all going to roll out, but I have a feeling that Jeff Keighley now has enough cachet to take everything E3 was doing and probably do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's going to expand the Summer Game Fest. Yeah,
definitely.
Like, because before Xbox and Nintendo were still part of E3, but I'm sure they'll have no problem either doing their own thing or at least going in line with Summer Game Fest. As long as it's all in the same general area, it's not kind of a big deal. I think it's a bigger deal for like developers and like press and everything, not getting hands-on, going to see each other's games. You don't get all that stuff, which makes it a little less exciting in that way, because it's nice to kind of see your favorite channels do special content, you know, kind of have the industry all in like one place. You know, they can, for the most part, they can do that digitally. I mean, because, you know, the Game Awards still felt like the Game Awards went way too long, but it still felt like a big thing that everyone was still able to cover and talk about, you know. So I think a lot of people will still just keep using the term E3 is here, and we'll all know what it means, you know. So I don't know much. I don't know. I don't think much is going to change from the last 2 years. It might, like I said, it might even be better that it's all under one banner now.
And I bet a lot of people, whenever that news came out, I bet a lot of people were like, "Oh wait, I thought it got canceled like for good a couple years ago."
Yeah, like I couldn't tell you last year what E3 did. I just remember like Nintendo released their thing and Xbox did their thing, and that was E3. Like, you know, the rest was like Summer Game Fest and other people, PlayStation doing their thing like a few months later. So
Summer Game Fest was so exciting though. Like during the pandemic and like having that, it's like a highlight. Like there's such a bleak pandemic and like we're all like depressed. Summer Game Fest comes in like God's hand. It's just like, hey, here's some video games. That's like what I look forward to. It could be
improved.
Yeah. I honestly don't think of it as too much of a negative. I still think that we're going to get a lot of cool stuff around that time period. So yeah. And so last but not least, Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulators for Switch were data.
Oh yeah.
And for me, last episode we're kind of talking about all the services. And, you know, we were talking about, okay, I think we all agreed that the N64 stuff and the Genesis stuff wasn't quite enough for us to shell out like $50, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think any of us had that or even were paying for that yet. But Game Boy Advance, like a Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulator, that would be enough to push me over because there's a lot of cool games, a lot of like handheld games that would work really well on the Switch.
Metroid games, Metroid Fusion, and Metroid Zero Mission, those are incredible.
Those are
I love those games.
Mm-hmm. For me, one of the games that was data mined is Golden Sun, and that's a JRPG I never got around to.
Yeah, me too.
So I didn't play it on the Game Boy Advance or DS.
I love Golden Sun.
And Kingdom Hearts Calm, that'd be interesting to play without the dodge button.
Yeah, so Golden Sun is like a dark spot for me. So even just doing like something like that, it would be really cool. But there's
Mr. Golden Sun Dark Spot.
Probably actually. I was just gonna say like they had a list of games that were being tested, and one of them was Golden Sun Hawaii 5-0, which is a like really rare Game Boy Color game. So you know, it looks like their selection is actually pretty cool. I saw a Fire Emblem in there. There's two really good Fire Emblems. The first one that came out was the first one that came to the United States, and that one's really cool.
That's really good too.
Yeah. Like there's just that's the thing. They're all made for handheld, so they're perfect games for the Switch. In a way, maybe the other offerings weren't, and they're a little harder to get your hands on. Like there's 1,000 Genesis collections that come out every time.
And they showcase the portability of the Switch.
Troy, did you know for the Wii U eShop, when the new Metroid game came out, Metroid Fusion was like the highest rating like bought game for a week, I think. When that game came out. So I think it shows that Nintendo's paying attention to that kind of thing, of course. Like, no.
And I just think it's the more they keep adding on, the more they know, the more value they offer, the more people are going to jump in, and that would be my jumping in point right there. They're already offering, like we said, the Animal Crossing expansion. The more tracks they add to that Mario Kart expansion, the better. Like, you know, at some point, I'm kind of waiting for all those tracks to get released. So it's kind of like a new Mario Kart game. I can just like play them all in one go. But yeah, so Game Boy Advance, very exciting. Is there any games besides that you guys can think of that you'd want on there?
Metroid, it already said like I think the same document you read, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, that's gonna be really fun, Golden Sun, and tons of more that would be really fun. Is there? Oh, you know what? We should talk about how I didn't see any mainline Pokemon games in there. I think.
Yeah,
Pokemon's already been redone so many times.
They There's probably there's probably remakes that they want to sell rather than selling you the originals.
That's what I was thinking too, exactly.
And from what I've seen, that Pokemon Company kind of does their own thing, and they want to keep their stuff premium and expensive. But yeah, I like I said, there's more games I'm not thinking of, but it's the Sonic Advance games are really cool.
Those are cool.
Yeah, it's just perfect for the Switch, so just more value. So hopefully that comes true. It's just Elite. They could just be testing it, but if it's in the system, it's probably there. Let's see. In the doc, I have a new comment or suggestion. It just says, "Should Sonic take off his shoes?" Yes or no? I'm gonna go. Okay, I just saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie.
Yeah,
I cannot remember if he took off his shoes.
No.
Sam, did Sonic the Hedgehog... I didn't even finish my question. She's just back there going... I can now confirm I did not see Sonic the Hedgehog's feet.
I saw it yesterday too,
but
so
you
I
wanted
confirmed
to.
Too, no.
He's barefoot in the first movie, apparently.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they give him shoes at some point.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Oh, okay. That's right.
Girl.
They look like the old.
Little niece, yeah.
Wow, huh? That's extended
Well,
cut.
I think he had shoes. The bottoms were just like worn off or something.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. When he was
And
living
they
alone.
gave him new shoes.
Do you want to give your quick thoughts on the movie, Troy?
Yeah, I liked it. I actually really enjoyed it. It was fun.
I did too. I thought it was very delightful. I have the poster over there, actually.
The Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie poster.
It is really good.
Yeah, no.
The first one. The first one's good. I haven't seen the second one though.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The I thought the Idris Elba, the Knuckles, the actor they chose for Knuckles is really good. Everyone plays. They do like subtle nods for like any a movie like this. They do like subtle nods. Like the coffee shop is called the Mean Bean.
Mean Bean, yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
If you find him, what's his name, Stone, like looking at the designs, like the little designs for Dr. Eggman, because he's crushing hard on him, obviously. You can see the original like Dr. Robotnik outfit where he's got a little plumped out belly, and like another outfit or two. It's really good. And on the helicopter, I don't know if you noticed, it's an SA2 on it.
Oh, look at that. Well, yeah. I mean, you could just tell people that like know the series are like paying attention and doing a good job. It's not just like a bunch of Hollywood guys going like, I don't know, it's a rodent. He runs fast.
Yeah, Tyson Keese is doing a great job of like being a part of them as well.
Yeah, but what I was surprised about is there was a good portions of the movie that had nothing to do with like Sonic or Tails. It was kind of the humans. And those were actually kind of funny. They're like enjoyable parts of the movie because they weren't the humans from the first movie and Sonic. They're kind of doing their own separate things till like the end there. So
yeah, it was very funny.
There are just as many Olive Garden jokes in the second one as there were.
They did.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there wasn't not as many, but there was an Olive Garden reference right at the beginning. I was like, I'd wipe that from my memory.
He's like, when you're here, your family.
Yep. No, Olive Garden does make another appearance.
It's weird how in this movie Sonic is just like Gex. It's just it's kind of like Gex.
He hasn't fallen that far yet. He's gotten close. I think it's so funny for like, I don't know how, now we're just going to talk about Sonic, but I think it's so funny that everything but the games is actually like really well
doing
done
Sonic justice, Sonic. Including the comics. Yeah. Yes, the comics themselves are really good apparently.
Yeah, the comics have been going on for years, but like there was that Sonic Boom show that kids loved for like a long time, and it's based off an awful game on the Wii U, just awful.
But the writing is so good, actually.
In the show, yeah. That's whatever. I've seen clips and I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't. Yeah, I could see why kids like this. But you know, after they fixed Sonic's teeth or whatever it was, that old design,
oh my God,
like, that monstrosity, which was the right move. The poor animators that were like locked to a desk. That kind of sucked, but they did fix it. But it's just funny that like everything about Sonic except the games, the thing everything is based on is in a good place. So whatever, we got that Sonic game coming out, and I loosely people have been saying decent things about it, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so we're just going to move into our last segment here. We are just about finished. So there wasn't much movement on our Fantasy Critic page here this month. So this is fantasycritic.games. Our league is Colton Gunner Green's Indecisive Acquaintances.
Woo.
And so from the time we spoke last to now, there wasn't any pickups or drops. So I think most of us have filled out our lists, a good portion of our list. So there's not going to be as much to go over. But the 3 games that came out were Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga for Dalton,
which
Weird West for me.
No,
and
for me.
Yeah, I have the game. I didn't pick up the game in the fantasy.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
It should have got more points for us than that. Expected more points.
You know what? I'll trade you Weird West then, because that definitely got less points. And then Moss Book 2 for Victoria and Colton as well. So looking at the list, let's go down. Where are you guys? There you are. So Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga scored an 82, which net them 12 points. Which like I said, anything above 80 is good. So especially for those Star Wars games, those have all been averaging around 74, like 76. So honestly, it's an improvement.
I was hoping for an 85 though, but
yeah. Moss Book 2 got an 84. Which again, just solid. If you guys keep these numbers up, because Total War got 16, like you've got this. You don't need to. Yeah. The consistency is hurting.
The only one I'm weird about is Saints Row, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, you have one free drop. You have one free drop if you want.
Yeah, I know.
So you can wait till previews are out and pay attention around that time. But and then one game came out for me, and that would be Weird West, which I was a little disappointed with. It got a 75, so it got me only 5 points. I had heard good previews on that. People that liked it seemed to really like it, so I was surprised that it scored that low. It's a PC only, like Western strategy RPG. Cool concept. It looked really nice, so it's on Game Pass. But yeah, it didn't quite net me what I wanted. But by our next podcast, which will be in a couple of weeks, although we probably won't have a segment with the Fantasy Critic, so a good amount of games are going to be coming up within the next 4 weeks that we can talk about. But like I said, Nintendo Switch Sports, Bug Snacks, and Mario Strikers, and those 3 are all coming out. So yeah, good Switch stuff.
Wait, I thought Cuphead was coming out this spring, wasn't it?
What was?
Cuphead, the DLC.
That's coming out on
June 30th.
June 30th. Yep.
Okay, that's worth it then.
So yeah, it's coming out in a bit, and like we said, Xenoblade and Live a Live's not far behind it. So a lot of RPGs are coming out, Monster Hunter, but Switch Sports, looking forward to playing that with all y'all's.
Sunbreak is gonna be so good. Oh my god, the Sunbreak ads. Oh.
Yeah, well, Monster Hunter scored well for me last year, and if this is even better, then it's gonna get Josh.
It will.
Good points.
It will.
Good
for sure.
points. Yeah.
Capcom's doing good.
Yeah, no, Capcom between Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, there are other things they're doing too, but even just between those two, that's really brought them back. They're not in any danger of being bought or anything at the moment. Either that or someone has to shell out a lot of money because they're making money hand over fist. But
Elon Musk money.
He's going to buy Twitter and Resident Evil.
I think he already has, actually.
Bought Resident Evil? I know.
No. He just bought Twitter.
He did, yeah. That was news today. Yeah. Hello, dating the podcast. Love it. Take that, Elon Musk. He's gonna like, what'd you say about me? When we post about this episode, it's gonna be gone.
He's gonna resort to the council asking if they should shadow ban us.
Yeah, exactly. His satellites are gonna shoot lasers. All right. Well, I think that'll do it. So thank you guys for all joining me. This was originally just going to be like a 3-cast episode. So thank you to Dalton and Victoria jumping in at the literal last second. Victoria will fill you in on all the fairies and what hijinks they're up to.
I'll also do that.
Yeah, I'll have to break out the NSFW tag just for Victoria's fairy episode. Yeah, just like gather around, children, or maybe don't. Here are some earmuffs. All right, and that's an episode. So thank you for joining us. Sorry about the brief hiatus, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a kind of a more focused episode. I already have a topic in mind, so look forward to that, and we'll see you. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.